Jamaica, checking back on the newspapers, checking back on what was happening on the island, and reading about the division, and reading about the tribalism, and reading about the contentious issues surrounding Hurricane Melissa relief, it grieved our hearts and it made us ashamed. The contentiousness that we are transmitting and transferring and translating and just sending into the universe. It not look good, it not sound good. I think we are in our silos and we are in our little areas where we lock ourselves down in our tribalism. We lock ourselves tight inside of our tribalism, and so we do not understand or are not aware, not cognizant of how this is translating in the international world or the international stage, places where people are putting on concerts to send hurricane relief to Jamaica. Places like Sierra Leone, for example, where a concert planned from last year happened just a few, the hurricane happened just a few days before the concert, and they changed everything. Sierra Leone, which is a country that's struggling, nowhere near Jamaica in terms of development, but they decided before we even got there, 20% of all the proceeds of their events would go to hurricane relief in Jamaica. But at the same time, you're in Sierra Leone reading about all that's happening on the island. And that is not to say that people aren't consciously aware that you'll have all kinds of challenges in the aftermath of such a vicious, violent disaster. People expect that there'll be challenges. Where there was a problem for me traveling across the world, and we went many places to get to Sierra Leone, was to read about what was happening here on the ground. The infighting, the incestuous infighting, the tribalism. And this is what we're sending to the world. Let us stop it. Don't sound good, don't look good, and it's not even good for any of us. I'll come back to that another time. But to say, once again, thank you so much. We had a brilliant time in Sierra Leone. To you, our listener, thank you so much who join us faithfully every Sunday morning. Thank you for tuning in, for keeping your radios and your telephones and your phones and your computers and however you're listening to us, your apps. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience during my absence. You see that? No, your patience during my absence. No, stop it. Right. But for your continued engagement and for being the heartbeat of this program, because that is what it is at the end of the day. You are the heartbeat of the program. The Africa Forum is what it is because you remain present, questioning, thinking, and building all the time. We come forward back with renewed purpose, new reflections from the continent, and a deeper dedication to work ahead. Let us begin. So let's take this from the top again, because this is a message. It's all that was in my head as I was returning home. How are you doing? I know we're trying to come back and come forward from a devastating hurricane. And I know so many of us are still struggling, still without electricity, still without water in some places, still without your homes, still without a roof over your head, still in shelters, still struggling to find food, warm food. I know that. I know that. And so, we're not ignoring that, but we're just coming forward from the continent and thought, let's have a little chat about that. We know, for example, that there are places right now where people feel, because we're getting the calls, right, that your needs are not being met. And we can see that for ourselves. And this is taking a while. One of the things that I'm really concerned about is the mental health of Jamaica. That's my greatest concern right now. We've been through so much, and here we are again. So I'm really concerned about that. Take care of each other, look out for each other, and remember to take care of yourself and then take care of others. We're seeing a lot of disasters, climate-related disasters in recent times. The frequency and the widespread distribution of these disasters have virtually been daily headline news. In Ethiopia, we're just hearing, and I spoke about this last week, a volcano that has not erupted in our time. In other words, in our civilization time, 12,000 years, erupted just a few days ago. And as it did, another volcano, synchronicity, quantum entanglement. They say you can't talk about quantum entanglement when you're talking about things like volcanoes, because it can be explained by the science itself without going all the way to quantum entanglement. But this is quite something. In Indonesia, that volcano that erupted in Ethiopia and the one that erupted in Indonesia, we have to have a conversation about that. And then it goes all the way back to, we're talking about these disasters that we see happening around us. Melissa impacting Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, and similar storms, what they call them, cyclones, monsoon, rains, ravaging South and Southeast Asia. We have Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam. So we have a worldwide phenomenon, much more than wars. And these are rendering populations dependent on central governments. And this sets a stage for exactly what we've been talking about, exactly what they have been telling us that they're going to be doing. Global direct protocols and intervention, including the global reset. And so the global reset is happening, and you can't do anything about it because you are devastated, and you have to accept it is that is coming your way, and I understand it. So here we are. The road to recovery cannot be uniformed. Cannot be uniformed. In large-scale disasters, the impact of injuries will be diverse. The capacities of individuals and communities and cultures varies and variable. And this sets the stage where the official response, despite their best efforts, will invariably be inequitable and in many cases inadequate. And this is what we're facing here on the island. Calculated timelines and expectations to achieve normalcy are most likely to be wrong. And that creates a window of vulnerability. Window of vulnerability through which a high percentage of populations will fall. We find ourselves in that situation right now. What is even worse, that in the name of efficiency, we'll get such populations being labeled, and categorized as being socially inept or lacking resilience, because that's the word now, resilience, right? And then we find ourselves triaged into what is salvageable or irredeemable, and that would be our status. Bearing in mind bearing in mind that the disasters, the groundwork to build back better and smarter. The incalcitrants would likely be sectioned to exclusion zones for control and monitoring. Read 1984. But if you don't want to read 1984, read the UN document that talks about one world health order, one world health order. Read Project 2025. Because we are here. We're in the middle of it. And so this is why we're setting the stage that the disasters are not just... So yes, Melissa is something that we've never seen before. And why? That's another question. We have promised to delve into that later on. But here we are. And if Jamaica is devastated, you're talking about the strongest country in the Caribbean in terms of its people, first and foremost, and the ability of its people to stand in their spaces, to never be enslaved again. This is where Rastafari was the first and only indigenous response to enslavement and slavery of the mind or the body. You get the point I'm making? This is where Letitia Gohegan, walking with the protesters from Stony Gut to Morant Bay, led by Baba Paul Bogle, threw the first stone. This is where Bookman duty come from. Or Bookman duty. In Haiti they say duty, so we'll work with it. You understand? This is where Chief Tetchi burnt plantations from St. Mary to Westmoreland and cross again for freedom. This is where Queen Nanny comes from. This is where Sam Sharp walked from Catadupa through to Retrieve and further down and led the wars for emancipation. So the global reset, which includes the Armada in the Caribbean water, the military, the largest military armada in any body of ocean since the Iraq War, is now in the Caribbean waters. And Jamaica is devastated and decimated by a hurricane. So we're in the middle of the global reset. You want to connect them, you connect them. You don't want to connect them, do not connect them. But everything is connected. Everything is connected. Everything is connected. Not everybody walking around looking like us are us. Not everybody walking around looking like us are one away, because you've got people, you've got things in human flesh possessing the bodies of human beings and carrying out the work. East. I want you to read this book if you can get your hand on it. You know, we talk about 1984 a lot, but just as an aside, if you can get your hands on Demonology, which is a book written by King James I, the same King James I who had the Bible translated. You have to understand, King James, I promise you that I will take an entire month, and that entire month will be on King James I alone. If you want me to do that, please let me know. Find some way to tell me, right? Let me know if you want me to spend an entire month, which will be 4 or 5 Sundays, just looking at the person, because historically he existed. He's just the other day born and died. and his entire family, so we can do that. We can also pass out the reason why he wanted the Bible to be translated. There were many Bibles before the King James Bible, but he needed to translate the Bible because he needed to prove, not just to prove, but to ensure that it was set in stone that the voice of the king was the voice of God, that he was vicarious filii die or vicarious filii dei. You take it in the way you want it. So we can have those conversations. We also want to talk about why he was so paranoid, why he had to, why all the new, the new entries that he ensured were made to the Bible, the King James Bible, where so many of them were about demonology, demons, witchcraft, necromancy. This is King James. A lot of this is not in the other Bibles. A lot of this is not in the Bibles before King James. There's a reason why he had to do that, because of his own personality, his own fears, his own insecurities, and the fact that this was also another way to control. So if you want me to, and I know I've gone off tangent a little bit, but if you want me to, I will have that conversation. But in demonology, he writes about how people become other than people. He talks about the person who, three types of people. One who is hurt as a child and goes off into silent meditation and is approached by evil. And then one who is curious beyond curiosity and goes off into that silent meditation and invites that element of evil. And then another one who, let me see if I can remember the third one, but in any case, three different types of people who are among us as a result of their own interactions with the other, which is evil. Now, this is where I agree with him, not necessarily on how it happens, but if there is good, then there is the opposite of good. And when you name the opposite of good, and you see the opposite of good in people, then may I talk about. Okay. Righto. So here we are. We are in the middle of the global reset, and we can hardly do anything about it. The Clintons came in while we were in Africa. I saw that. And I said, we have done so many programs here. I mean, scores of programs, many programs on the Clinton Foundation. And all of it legit and legal and highly researched. That we have done so many programs on the Clinton Foundation. As a matter of fact, as we speak, I think it is, there's a whole lot of conversation in the United States around the Clinton Foundation. All you have to do is Google. But you don't have to go so far. All you have to do is go to Haiti, IT. And so it makes me wonder. I felt deflated. I felt disappointed. I felt as if, you know, what is it all for? What is it all for? You know, at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning, December 7, I'm feeling that feeling again, you know, to say, what has it been for all for? If we do not educate ourselves, we are bound to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. So I don't have much to say because I've said a whole lot over many years. But I'd like to say one thing to Madame Babsy Grange. One thing. And I said that to her 2 or 3 years ago at Civil Heritage Park at the Jubilee. I said that to her, the ancestral celebration. Because they had invited to Jamaica the president of Rwanda. When so many journalists were being imprisoned, so many lawyers were being imprisoned, when M23 was wreaking havoc against Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, when Uganda and all of them were slaughtering people on the continent of Africa, and it seems as if the Jamaican government knew nothing about it, or they knew and turned a blind eye because Britain was coddling Rwanda and Kigali and Kagame. I said to her and to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Kamina Johnson-Smith, at the time, I said, we applaud the vision that Jamaica has to bring Africa to Jamaica through presidents and culture and all of that. But why go for the strong men? Why don't look across Africa? Look at those who we can emulate, those who are not guilty of war crimes against their people, those who are not guilty of genocide against Africans like Kagame is guilty. And they stared at me and didn't answer. But this is what I said to them, and I said that to them on air because I was broadcasting live. Now, this is so if we have to be saying this to the people who are entrusted to ensure that we are not propping up anything that has even the appearance of corruption. I know you're going to laugh and all of that, so I need to stop talking. But here's the thing. I have the same thing to say right now to Madame Grange, which is, on this, as on Kagame, you're making a mistake. And the only consequence of that is something we won't see right now, but it will be another Haiti. And I say another Haiti because this is what they have done to Haiti. Haiti is being punished over and over and over and over again for being the liberator of Africans, the leaders in that. But along the way, we've had people who come into Haiti and have destroyed the economy, enslave the people, have them working for slave wages or none, collect monies in their names, hurricane after hurricane, earthquake after earthquake, and not turning it over. This information is readily available. It is not hard to find. So what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And it tells me, though, there's something that we are losing sight of. And I'm going to ask us, even as we try to recover from this vicious disaster that has trampled us into silence and so many things, I'm going to ask us to pay attention. They've said to us about 4 months or 5 months ago, if so much, that they're going to turn Treasure Beach into a Martha's Vineyard. You know what Martha's Vineyard is, right? So that they have said to us, all right? They have also said to us that they are going to be building out smart cities. Smart cities, you can go read 1984 to know what that is. That is surveillance cities. That is 100% surveillance. That is lack of freedom. That is enslavement. We have some of those going on now across the world. Some of those cities are being built out. This is inevitable. This is inevitable. But we must have a say in what's happening on the ground in this country. We must have a say. Because at the end of the day, we are fodder for capitalism. We are fodder for technocracy. We are fodder for transhumanism. And don't feel no way when we say this, because Elon Musk has a plan. And that plan includes Starlink and SpaceX. And he has not hidden from us any of that plan. I'm saying a lot of what we're going through is inevitable. We're going to call for it. This disaster, Melissa, is ensuring that we ourselves call for the tools of our enslavement. The cost of recovery could well come at the expense of our sovereignty, at the expense of our identity, at the expense of our agency. So what is the answer? Goodness gracious me, I do not have it. I do not have it. But I am reflecting on it. How do we overcome that which is already here? I always say, at the end of the day, land security, food security, agriculture, land, water. Because that, at the end of the day, is the basic of it. That, at the end of the day, is it. Right? Because this is where the independence is going to come from. And now we're seeing quite a few ads. We're seeing quite a few ads out there now asking for people who want to work with real estate developers or real estate companies or law firms or whoever you're working with at whatever agencies to identify land. Connected right back to this disaster, you know. I want to reiterate again. I want to underscore, to reiterate, and to say it many, many times again. Do not sell your land. This is not a time to sell your land. They've got a plan. Hold on to your land. Your house up on your land and it mash up. You sit on, I don't know how to say this, but make sure you guard your land. I know that there are plans in place. We asked Bobby Montague to come on this morning to talk about that whole land titling situation that he's been tasked with. His assistant, etc., he can't make it to talk today. I don't know when he will, but hopefully he will. We have reached out to an attorney who we see writing about this. He confirmed, but because of an engagement that's clashing, we're not able to talk to attorney Benjamin Fraser, who has written an article in the very same vein that we're talking about, which is to say, do not sell your land, obviously coming from a legal perspective. But this is a time when land is going to be critical. Your access to water is going to be critical. Do not let them in this period block you off from access to the sea. Access to the fresh water. Because there's such a thing as disaster capitalism. And believe me, we see the junk for them already come down, and it's not the junk for that my colleague and a brilliant journalist talked about the other day. Zara Burton, one of the most brilliant journalists that we have in Jamaica. Anyway, that's an aside. But just to say, you know, when Jamaica say Jonkro, we're talking about scavengers. The scavengers are here. And they want access. They want your land. They want your water. They want your fresh water. They want your seawater. Because they understand the game. They understand the game, and you are suffering. And why is your suffering being dragged out so long? Why is the suffering of the poor being dragged out so long? Professor Rosalie Hamilton has written an excellent article. We've been talking about that in this space also. It's a few days ago, I think it was actually last week Sunday that was published, or the Sunday before, talking about this whole business of centralization, central government, and how it there needs in the conversations on constitutional reform, that there has to be a change to how government is set up in Jamaica, in that everything is central government, and so people in the parishes, councillors and mayors and members of parliament do not necessarily have the power to assist in times like this, so that there has to be a deregulation in a way of the way central government functions. And I agree with her, because we've been saying that very same thing in this space, which is to say, we have conversations with mayors who have said, we haven't heard anything from anyone. Now, we have a cascade that is on the international stage, right? Where the Prime Minister is answering the minister, the opposition leader, where the Maroons in Akampong having well, that is another contentious issue with the Prime Minister and the JDF, and where there is a PNP and JLP situation that is vulgar and beneath us as human beings, first of all. So my thing is to stop it, but also to say to us, we the people, that we are going through what we are going through, and we're about to lose our land, and we're about to lose our homes, and we're about to lose access to our waters. There's also another situation because agriculture is decimated. I don't know what we are carrying in. What kinds of scrutiny are in place to ensure that the fruits and all these things that are about to come in are coming in already, are not coming from Bill Gates and his friends, because they are making those with all kinds of material. I don't know if it is human cells or whatever they're using to make meat. You understand what I'm saying? But there's a lot out there for us to be wary of. So Jamaica finds itself in a position where we ourselves are about to beg for the tools of our destruction, of our enslavement, of a loss of sovereignty, of a loss of identity, and enslaved to digital technocracy and digital enslavement and smart cities and Martha's Vineyards. This is where we are. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Do you have the answer? We sit a play. We sit a play, and I know it's like deers trapped in headlights or a frog. You know, when frog, you ever see frog trapped in a headlight? This is our situation right now. It's our situation. We're using the words where them I use. We are waiting for them to come. You know, it is. Here we are. We are at a crossroads. We must look at this and we must answer the question. Where do we go from here? What do we want? What kind of a future for Jamaica do we envision? What are they doing? Who are they making deals with right now? See there? We're gonna IMF in a serious way already, you know. This thing, the backlash on us, is gonna be something that we're ill prepared for. Unless we can stymie the drive into technocracy and transhumanism and disaster capitalism. In other words, we have to be looking out for ourselves, our sovereignty, our dignity, our identity. That's basically what I'm saying. And what does that mean? First of all, I say to you, do not sell your land. Don't sell your land. Use bamboo, banana, tash, whatever you build something upon it, and don't sell your land. And secondly, watch what you're eating. I know, but watch what you're eating. And make sure you've got access to the same river them, the same sea, the same beach. Or you're gonna look around and Martha's Vineyards will be springing up all around you, and you are the slave that they have identified for this. This is what happened in Haiti. Who ran the sweatshops in Haiti? Who ran that? Go and look up the Clinton Foundation, but also Bill and Hillary Clinton in Haiti, and say to Jamaica, say to Madame Babs-Grange and the Prime Minister and the friends of the Clintons in Jamaica, because a friend think I will see it. who have come in as disaster capitalists to feed off the flesh from the bones of the dying Jamaican people. 1-1 Cocoa Relief Drive. People in affected areas urgently need rice, flour, sugar, cornmeal, non-perishable food items, oats, crackers, etc., canned food such as sardines, mackerel, etc., tarpaulin, solar lights, battery or solar-powered radios. Personal hygiene products are also welcomed. You can drop your donation here at IRFM Coconut Grove, St. Anne, or 1B Courtney Walsh Drive in Kingston. We will get your donation to those who need it. A small donation from you will make a big impact on someone's life. The IRFM 1-1 Cocoa Relief Drive. Let's get Jamaica back on its feet quickly and make things Irish still. We do not need any more clothes. We're going to underscore that. We do not need any more clothes. And a special shout out to some of our donors. David James, otherwise known as Froggy, One Wood Boss. Hey Froggy, how you do? Irie Mumma, Walker Cousins, Iris Spring Water, Kimmy the Crocs Goddess, Althea Hewitt, Jamaica Funk Production, Claude Evans. So just remember to give generously to IRFM 1-1 Cocoa Relief Drive. And just quickly to say what people in affected areas need urgently. This is what they're feedbacking to us, or feeding back to us. Rice, flour, sugar, cornmeal, non-perishable food items, oats, crackers, etc., canned food, sardines, mackerel, and so on, tarpaulin, solar lights, battery or solar-powered radios. Personal hygiene products are also welcomed. So we told you earlier that there was an ongoing coup in Benin, but in the last hour, that coup seems to have been foiled because Benin's interior minister is now appearing on national TV and has announced that an attempted coup in the West African nation has been thwarted. Earlier, a group of soldiers led by Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigri had made a broadcast saying they had ousted President Patrice Talon and suspended the constitution. In social media posts from the French embassy in Benin, we heard that gunfire had been reported near the residence of the president in the main city of Cotonou, which is a seat of government. Eyewitnesses told the BBC that they had heard gunshots, and some journalists working for the state broadcaster were held hostage. A presidential advisor has since told the BBC that the president is safe and he's at the French embassy. And they're quoting the Interior Minister, Alassane Seydoux, who said early on Sunday morning, December 7, 2025, a small group of soldiers launched a mutiny aimed at destabilizing the state and its institutions. Faced with this situation, the Beninese armed forces and their leadership, true to their oath, remained committed to the Republic. Their response allowed them to retain control of the situation and foiled the attempt. The government therefore urges the population to go about their activities as normal. The BBC says helicopters have been flying over Cotonou and roads are blocked with a heavy military presence on several streets in the city. From Benin, this morning, around about 2 o'clock, sometime after 2, we started seeing the reports coming in that there was a coup underway. Later on, by about 3:30, 4 o'clock, that is Jamaica time, we saw the other information coming in that, the coup had succeeded, the president had, fled and all of that. But now the reporting from the BBC and from the Interior Minister, who has appeared on national TV there, is that the coup in Benin has been thwarted. reported from Sierra Leone last week that there was a coup just next door to Sierra Leone in Guinea-Bissau, and that is still happening. That has happened, and they're downplaying that, but a coup happened in Guinea-Bissau. I'm not quite sure what the outcome is going to be. I know that we saw ministers from ECOWAS and from different places heading to Guinea, that's next door to Guinea-Bissau, and that they were holding all kinds of meetings and so on. But as far as I know, and as far as we can tell, the process is what it is. A coup took place there, and that is the status quo for right now in Guinea-Bissau. Going to be there, or him going to be, he's the one who's going to do the door of no return this year. Or Mazola said that he'll come and do so and so. And Mazola is always part of Fosinting and a very close friend of Sister P. I haven't had a chance to talk to Sister P yet, but our deepest condolences to the family, the friends, the community of Treasure Beach in St. Elizabeth, our Kenyan brothers and sisters who are on the island here in Jamaica. Our deepest condolences to you. The latest that you might have heard that Mazola was shot and killed here in Jamaica. Is a Kenyan artist and has been based in Jamaica for many years. A really good artist. If you know him, you know his work. If you don't, you probably see his work and don't even know that it's him. But so we understand that police are now, they say they're on the hunt for the murderers who took the life of this international artist in Treasure Beach. He's from Kenya, of course. We understand that his maternal grandmother was from Malawi. So it's from Malawi to Kenya and to Jamaica. And he's been here for a while. He's been part of the community. He's been a friend and a brother. And they snuffed his life out. They shot him and killed him. And this happened in Jamaica, in Treasure Beach. It is a very sad day for all of us. Our hearts are grieving for our brother. This is something that we haven't even had time to come to terms with this yet. It's like you're reading it and it is so. It's like it's not him. You know, you want to call somebody to say, is it really him? Or, you know, it's just one of those things that don't really hit home yet. In a robbery, we understand. There's someone else who was in the home who was also shot. We heard that person is hospitalized, am I right? But, you know, get well soon, and our hearts with you. Our deepest condolences to our Kenyan family, to his family here on the island in Jamaica, and to his friends. Mazola. This is something, yeah, this is something that really hurts. All right, so while we grieve for our family and friends, let us remember to look out for each other. Let us stop. There's something that's happening here on the island. I suppose when you go out for a while and you come back in, you know, or when you're outside of the island just testing the temperature of what's happening on the island, that it becomes so distasteful and revolting, which is just the hatred. And you have to call it hatred. Jamaican people say we love each other. But apart from when it comes to politics, or apart from when it's somebody bad mind, when do we really love each other? Because the kind of cascas and the vitriol and the violence in language that's coming out of the belly of Jamaica in the midst of this disaster and trying to get out of this disaster. How we end up a cuss each other so? How we end up make this into a JLP, PNP thing? How did we get here? How come I yes we there? And there has to be leadership. There has to be leadership on this. Those in leadership positions have to take the high road. You have to set the example because people are following your lead. I don't know what this is. We're heading a spin. We out here trying to put on back a roof and to get rid of mold and to find a place to lay our head and wish we're going to get something to feed the picnic tomorrow morning, or not even tomorrow morning, but right now. You've got our heads in a spin because you've turned this into political tribalism. You've turned this into something that is unbecoming of human beings. And so there has to be leadership on this. So the question I ask, who is going to lead the process for unity during this period? Who is going to take charge of that process? Somebody has to do it. It can't go along so. It can't continue like this. We cannot see constituencies in hurricane relief. There is no border, no boundary, no constituency, only people, human beings. We cannot see JLP or PNP. We must not see political party while we try to put our roofs back on, to find a place to lay our heads. Somebody has to lead this process, be the bigger woman or the bigger man. It has to come from somewhere, but everybody lock into a paradigm. And this is why, even though I haven't said it in a while, I consider that place at Gordon House a synagogue of Satan. Because if not one person from inside Deso can come out and say, stop it. Anyone could have come out and say, stop it. It would have made a good news story, and it would have appealed to people, and it have legs, it would roll. I don't know how we are all so angry. And this has to do with money, you know. This is all about money. This is about money. It's money them fighting over. They're fighting over the money. That is the bottom line. The love of money is the root of all evil. I don't even have no song to back it up, but anyway. Let me just go with this. And to the team that you've got, because this is phenomenal. It's professionalism at the highest level. I don't know if anything went at the back going, but all we can say up front, highest levels of professionalism, Prof. So congratulations to you and the team.
Yes, thank you so much. And, to you and everyone who made the trip, it was really very special. So thank you for being a part of it.
Yes, enjoy that. All right, so let us kind of look back a bit to remind ourselves of how this trip came about and why we were in Sierra Leone.
Ever since the consulate was established in 2023, the government of the Republic of Sierra Leone has been keen on deepening relationship between Sierra Leone and Jamaica, and by extension, the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. And so, when they opened, the Minister of Tourism and Cultural Affairs came to Jamaica with the ambassador, who's based in Washington, D.C., and they came with that spirit of oneness, that we're one, we're connected by our history, by our culture, and they wanted to, deepen that understanding of who we are and open the possibilities and the opportunities for trade and investment ultimately. Mm-hmm. So the die was cast then, yes. That's a framework in which all of this has happened. Right. Earlier this year, part of the work that I did was to reconnect and commemorate this whole visit to Nova Scotia. Mm-hmm. Part of the journey of Jamaicans, the Maroons leaving, and was tricked, in fact, into leaving Jamaica. Put on a boat, got drunk, and were taken to Nova Scotia. Mm-hmm. But that experience in Nova Scotia is phenomenal in and of itself.
Yes.
And what happened there, and so we went just to deepen our own understanding of what's happening, what happened there. Yes. And of course, they went on to Sierra Leone. So in fact, next year, we're hoping to do that tour again, because it really, really was very enlightening just to understand and hear that experience.
Yes, I agree with that, and just to our listeners, stand by and listen for the information as it comes out in terms of what next year's trip will look like to Sierra Leone. So that there is obviously the consulate is here. We had many discussions on that when you were appointed as honorary consul. So our listeners do know about that. In terms of the objectives, trade and connection and just that interaction, how much of that would you say was achieved in terms of looking at what happened throughout the period, the 2-week period in Sierra Leone?
Well, I think it's important to think about that trade not in the way people tend to think about physical trade in goods, but to very importantly think about the trade in services. Mm-hmm. And so the trade in the fact that Sierra Leoneans were prepared to spend money to buy our music and our musicians is what happened during the One Love, the One Nation
reggae concert, festival, yeah,
right, yeah. And that's what happened. So the Sierra Leoneans literally bought. The tickets for the concerts, the music, the downloaded music, etc., etc. Yeah. So that definitely is part of this ultimate freedom. Yeah.
And you can't beat that really, because it's phenomenal the way reggae music carries Jamaica. It goes ahead of us, doesn't it? So that
absolutely, it is, absolutely. And that's an important part of our global trade, music, entertainment services, and all related services that flows from that, There's also, of course, once we're physically there, we were buying Sierra Leone goods and services as well.
Coffee ever stop, because like how me never get a chance to buy much things. Me don't want people to think that me buy things, so me don't care not for nobody, I never get a chance, Pop. I never get a chance to go back to the market, Pop.
Well, I have to concede, I'm a jewelry junkie. So I did get a piece of jewelry.
Well, and I think, I mean, we were there with you. You didn't buy much either, so stop
I did not buy much. I was about to say all I did was I got a piece of jewelry, 2 pieces of jewelry.
There was some, the schedule was so packed. Talk us through that. What that whole period entailed and some of the highlights.
Yeah, well, of course, we started with the launch, which was really a very special occasion where, we were able to just greet members of the government, and there were several members of the government there, and the chief minister was also there. And for those who don't understand the political and governmental structure in Sierra Leone, there's the president, but there's also a chief minister. And the chief minister is effectively the person who runs the government, so to speak, on a day-to-day basis. Whereas the president is more leader, the policy maker, the decision maker from that point of view. And of course, the chief minister himself was there, and he represented the president. We wanted to. There was an opportunity, small opportunity, that we could have met the president, but it didn't materialize. It was in fact the day of that. Was it an attempted coup? I think that's what it turned out
yes.
to be.
It was a coup, regardless of what they're calling it now, because it is, the status quo remains the same in terms of the president is gone. And
sure.
In Guinea-Bissau, yes.
Yeah, so I think that maybe, I'm not sure what was the reason we didn't get a chance to meet. But so again, just reinforcing that this event was fully supported by the government. And I want to say it that way because although my understanding it is a private event, but that the government, the ministry in particular, had supported it at the highest level, because they felt that it was events like these that bring, these countries together. Sierra Leone, and people love reggae music, and that really was the glue.
Yes, and as much as you're breaking it down for us in terms of the government support of this private event, that if you didn't say that to me while I was there, I wouldn't even be consciously aware of that, because the support was overwhelming from government, and government was driving this to a very large extent. It's something that we can also learn from Sierra Leone. I'm not quite sure we're going to get the tribalism out of it, but it's something that we can learn. Just the way I saw that, even though this was their very first time, they have so much to learn from us. But they just the strategy that they employ on this one, I think it's great.
Remember, I mean, if we look at our tourism industry, you see it a lot. I mean, at the highest levels of tourism, the government is very much involved, and they actually, lead some of the initiatives, to spearhead things, embrace the initiatives of the businesses. I think maybe at other levels it's not necessarily.
Oh, I mean, I thought like stage show. I was talking like the big stage show.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Not quite at the other levels, right? But clearly, to the extent that there's, for example, a support. For example, I know for many, many years, there's some stage shows that didn't get financial support. Over time, they eventually got. And, so there's financial support. But I think what you saw there was more than just financial support.
Yeah, it was presence. It was
presence, embracing, and, really having a kind of, in full endorsement of the product.
Although maybe we say what of course, why is the minister fronting up this thing?
Well, there's always that. What is the balance, What is that balance,
Look here, but I liked it. I liked the fact that, you could hardly tell, but that the private sector was totally in on this.
Yes.
All right, so that's a big thing. That was like the culmination, but so many other things happened, including the visit to the IT center, the visit to the university. Talk to us about some of those other.
One I'd love to talk about is that visit to the Peace Center.
Yes. And
that was a really phenomenal experience for me. First of all, I think that many persons may not be aware that in the International Court of Justice, when they do these cases of genocide and major human rights violations, that they set up subsidiary courts in relevant countries to continue the work of the court, to ensure that their decisions are in fact executed. And so it was really interesting to see what was done in Sierra Leone, where after the Civil War, we're talking about 11 years of a civil war, and they had the trial, and people were arrested.
1991 to 2001, thereabouts.
Yes, exactly. That the court's mandate now is to ensure that the judgments of the court are being fully executed with all its parts, you know, appeals, etc., etc. But very importantly, one of the mandates of the court is to really build awareness of what happened. And so the establishment of the Peace Museum was really, really, really very touching and very enlightening, because you could see pictures that, let me say to the audience, were covered over, not just on a wall, because it was so graphic.
Yes, yes.
You know, that
and just to give our listeners an idea of what we're talking about, because many would have watched the movie Blood Diamonds, and this is Sierra Leone, you know. When we talk about Blood Diamonds, this is Sierra Leone, and I think what they did was to conflate the civil war with that whole movies and how the mercenaries were involved. So they get so you have an idea of the kind of gruesome and this is real now. This is not a movie. Pictures that you're seeing in the museum.
Yes, right, yes, for decapitated heads and really, very, very, very disturbing. And so I think for us it was a eye opener, because you know we complain a lot about what's happening in our country, and we ought to, because we are striving for better. Yes. But sometimes we must step back and look at what other countries have gone through. Yes. And I think it gave us a moment to pause. A country like Sierra Leone, very similar to us in many ways, as we're talking about history, culture, etc. But going through an experience that we've never quite gone through since our independence, which is, you know, a civil war. And that for many of us who really, you know, very comfortably discover we need a revolution here in Jamaica and so on, it gave people a chance to pause. And I think we all need to pause and think. Mama G was with us, and she made a very important point. She says, Melissa did our revolution for us. And she made the point that, you know, Jamaica, certainly in the West, is destroyed. And that's what happens when you have a revolution. Things are destroyed. And the most important thing is really, how do you build back? Yes. And how do you build back better? Right?
And how do you preserve the people's dignity? Because I think this is critical in all of this, as you look at what they're trying to do in Sierra Leone by even covering up some of the things.
A very important, we saw the list of why the Civil War. I don't know if you have it offhand, and you know, you could.
I don't have it offhand. Let me see, Mama G did send it to me.
I think it was there in that WhatsApp group where all of these things that you know, we are concerned with now was in fact the reasons for the war. And so I remember it was an observation that that Mama G made. She said, all these things that was the reason. And by the way, this was the reasons were determined by the commission. They set up a commission to investigate what happened. You know, why did this war take place in the first place? And it was there. It was very evident. And so again,
but the point to underscore on that, Prof, is that the reasons are also very, very familiar to us. Some of the reasons there are familiar to us.
Yes, of course. I mean, there were things like corruption. There were things like youth unemployment. You know, bad governance. You know,
injustice generally. Injustice. Sorry, no, I'm just saying. I'm sorry to laugh at that, but injustice generally. We can identify.
I found the list. I just go through it very quickly.
Go ahead. Yes.
Bad governance was the first one. Right? Yes. Injustice, political intimidation, political violence, youth marginalization, youth unemployment, uneven distribution.
Hamilton, she is the honorary consul, Sierra Leone's honorary consul to Jamaica, Jamaica's honorary consul to Sierra Leone, let me turn it right. And we are just coming from Sierra Leone, where a new, a not so new opportunity has opened up, and Sierra Leone says they are the gateway, Prof, to Africa for the African diaspora. For us in Jamaica, that makes a lot of sense, because we got there and recognized that we, of all the African countries that I've been to, I don't know about you can talk for yourself in a little while, Sierra Leoneans are more like us, or most like us, if you will.
Yes, absolutely. Well, again, our presence in Freetown, once we landed there, once we got there, 1800, from Nova Scotia, was impactful. We saw that place where one of the Maroons literally burned down the place. There were all kinds of problems, and literally just decide, just go and burn down the place.
Yes.
But there was like a central market. Remember that? I forgot the name of the individual.
Jimmy.
Yes, I think it was
Jimmy.
Jonathan or something. I don't remember.
I think of Jimmy.
But
yes.
So our presence was felt, was very dominant, and we physically shaped some of the institutional arrangement. Obviously, the church. We went to that Maroon church, which was really a center of not just religious expression, but cultural expression for the Maroons once they got there, and the whole evolution of a Creole people and a Creole language came out of that experience.
And we have to spell this for our listeners. It's K-R-I-O. Before you're right when we're saying Creole. We're not saying Creole. It's
Creole.
K-R-I-O.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you listen, although we don't speak it, we could understand it.
Every word of
it. Yes, just listening. Once you listen, you heard a few French words in there. They say beaucoup picnic. Beaucoup is French for many. And of course, picnic, we know what picnic is, they have many children, beaucoup picking, so they'd say things like that you could pick up.
What I found is that I could have a conversation with any Sierra Leonean in Creole. As I said, do not talk no English, and I'm not going to talk no English on here. We're talking Creole, and we laugh and talk through that. And it's pretty interesting, because when you go to other African countries, especially West Africa, because of colonization and all of that, and the colonization of the tongue, to the colonizing of the tongue, there are a whole lot of different languages that you really can't tap into at all, close to us. Anyway, so here we are with the Creole, and we really, really, really had. For me, it was easier to maneuver through Sierra Leone, because there wasn't that. Because we were talking the same language.
Yeah. And the people, you could see very similarity, in who we are, warm, friendly, you see some aggression. Every time I saw it, I said, well, that's the Nigerian in us.
Yeah, look there. Yes.
And of course, some laid back kind of experiences and so on. Yeah. So it's an interesting mix.
Yeah, I know one of the highlights also was a visit to Bunce Island. I'm kind of rushing. Island. Yeah, because we don't have much time. That's why I'm rushing through. But I know that was a highlight.
Yes.
Mama G's going to come on. She'll talk some more about it. But that was quite something, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, and that's Sierra Leone's equivalent to the slave castles in
the dungeons.
Those dungeons
in Ghana,
in Ghana and other places, right? So it was, of course, a very spiritual experience, just a reminder that our foreparents could have come through through that particular island. Very, very possible. Many of us ancestors would have come there.
Of course, one of the things... Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Now, one of the things that happened, we talk about the music already, but we had superstars there from Jamaica. We can talk about that quickly, because Sizzler was there.
Yes, of course. We had Sizzler, of course, Chris Martin. We had Africa and, Queen Africa. And there are other Jamaican artists there. Lucan.
Makeda.
Sorry, yes.
all of this was really, that stage show was brilliant, you know. It's thought that when the light go away, and I know Chris Martin don't want to spend a whole lot of time to talk about, you know, the malfunctioning of the stage. I know that he's resting up, and I know he's not performing at a show that he's scheduled to perform at this weekend, I think.
Yes.
But that he doesn't want to spend a lot of time.
Yeah,
right. But when you take that out, I mean, it was really a great evening.
It was amazing. I mean, I heard there's someone who made the comment that they've, for example, seen Sizzler perform many times, but they felt it was his best performance.
Oh, really?
Yes, someone made that comment to me, and I can understand, because this was a very spiritual and significant journey for him.
Yes,
and so
it was an excellent performance. Really,
yes, it was very much. I think all the performers, you know. Yeah. Queen Africa stepped up and she, you know, really did it. I mean, Chris was very good. It was amazing. Yeah. And I think for us who know these performers, we've seen them, and we can expect this kind of level of performance. I think for the Sierra Leoneans, they were kind of blown away.
Yes.
Because they've really never seen and experienced this.
With 30 seconds of what next, and just give you a little chance to wrap this.
Well, you know, we've invited the Sierra Leoneans to come to Jamaica for Reggae Month. So
I'm applauding here.
Yes. So we expect them here in February, and so we definitely want to give them a Jamaican treat when they come.
And they're going to be here. Do we know when in February yet?
Well, we expect the first week in February, early February.
Okay.
And you know, we hope, you know, to have that kind of exchange. We're hoping to see some fashion. We're hoping to Sierra Leonean fashion, of course, the music. Yeah. I'm awaiting the confirmation both from the minister as well as the ambassador in terms of their presence. And so if they do come, you know, it would be a high-level delegation that will come and really experience our reggae month.
All right, so we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to that, and we'll talk to you many, many times before that. Thank you so much, Prof. We're totally out of time. I should talk to you about the Alaska Foundation and the hurricane relief. I know that that is on. Can you take 5 seconds? Oh, no, we don't have it. Sorry. We have to go to. I'll call you back.